Today we're joined with Tim Andrews, the head of fitness over at Fitness First. Tim, thanks a lot for joining me today, mate. So first of all, for the people who don't know, who are Fitness First and where could they find you?
Fitness First has been a global brand, but it's currently in a UK guise under my remit for fitness. So we're currently 30 clubs, 2/3 of the estate. So 20 clubs are within the M25 in London. And then we've got 10 residential sites, all the way from Bath on the south coast, all the way up to Wigan in the northwest. So 30 clubs right now. But as we are now at the start of 2024, we've been through a process where we have got rid of a few clubs that, we've renegotiated rents and that sort of things, and they haven't worked out for us. So some of those clubs have gone by the wayside, but we're now actually looking to grow as an estate. So we're in a great position with all those 30 clubs that we've got. Great profit-making clubs with really flourishing PT businesses. And we're actually looking to grow the estate from 2024 to more like 40-45 clubs within the next 2 years.
Fantastic, buddy. Fantastic. So in terms of, we said that you're the head of fitness at Fitness First. I'd love to know a little bit more about your role, but your career journey so far to have got you where you are. So if you could tell me a bit about that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so I've been within Fitness First for my whole career. Effectively came out of uni with a sports science degree, which included PT. And I went straight into being a freelance personal trainer at my local Fitness First in Cannock in the Midlands at the time. And they just sort of rolled out at that point the self-employed model. So everything previously in Fitness First had always been a sort of shared revenue model, but for the first time they wanted to trial just a rent model. So there was no infrastructure behind it. They literally just chucked me in. They wanted, I think at the time, this was 24 years ago, it's still relatively expensive, I suppose, 125 quid a week that I would pay straight off the bat. Sorry, I got calls coming in left, right, and centre.
That's all right.
I should have turned that off. £125 a week, and just literally said that there's nothing to support you, just crack on and see what you can do. And they did that with a few of us in the Midlands as a bit of a trial, and it worked really well. Flourishing business in there. And then because that had worked so well, they then created roles within a lot of the clubs as a PT coordinator, as an employed role. I took that role and then took PTs on at that club. I got that club pretty quickly to about 18 personal trainers, which was about the best in the UK at the time. And it all went from there. I then went from a PT into a fitness manager and a general manager. I then went from general manager into a more sort of sales role, because I understood that within PT, and I'd done quite well within PT, and there's a lot to do with lead generation and converting clients, obviously, as you well know, overcoming objections. So it naturally led me into sales a little bit more. So I did a little bit in sales as a regional role within sales. Went over to Fitness First Australia as well, who was doing pretty much the best in terms of new member acquisition at the time. That was about 2006 or 7 when we were the global business. And then that led me into a position as divisional fitness manager. So I then had 50 clubs that I was responsible for the PT business. Did that for a couple of years. They then gave me the south of England as well. So I had the whole of England, excluding London, Northern Ireland and Scotland, that must have been about 150 clubs then that I was running the PT businesses for, which was fantastic. But then that's the time where DW and Fitness First came together. I think they were trying to make the balance sheet look a little leaner, so they made some redundancies. So I actually went back into a regional position for a bit, and DW didn't buy my region of clubs. They bought a lot of other regions. They didn't buy my region. So I actually left Fitness First and stayed with the region of clubs, and they were acquired by a company called GLL, who I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
Who wanted to take the PT, the business generally, in a completely different direction. So they outsourced PT to a separate company. But all their focus was just, checks, administration. They just wanted it open and closed and stuff running, reports, and no interaction, which just wasn't my bag, to be fair. It did affect the clubs that I was in as well. The PTs did reduce when there was less focus from the internal team. So what was Fitness First, there was a lot of focus on PT. When it went to GLL, there was very little focus on PT. And the PT businesses within the estate were dramatically affected. So I left GLL, came back to Fitness First, unfortunately lost 14 years of blooming service, which was a nightmare. Came back in a gym floor experience role. So I then got more into the digital aspect of the business. A lot of work with the app and understanding how the digital side of PT and fitness and group exercise was working. And then since that time, I've just progressed up through the business, and now in my role as head of fitness, focusing on everything from equipment to group exercise to personal training and the experience as well. So it's been a long old road, but I've had a real wide array of understanding of the business.
Yes.
There was a little time as well when I was with the Sporter. Sorry, I missed that one out. A little bit in a Sporter where I was brought in just to work their business in a Sporter, which was really different because it was a bit more straight-laced. But, you know, added a bit of fun into it all, softened it up a little bit and did well in a Sporter as well.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, like you say, there's a lot of years, a lot of different roles within this business, which is great because it then stands you in good stead in the role you're in now to help PTs, because like you say, you've done the sales, you've done the PT in itself, you've done lead generation. So you're in the perfect place in terms of the role you're in now to help PTs who are either starting out or looking to build upon what they're doing. And me and Adam and the guys we've spoken to already so far, what's great to see is the people who are in the roles, head of fitness in each company, are PTs at heart. And that's really nice to see, rather than it just be someone who, from an education background, for example, they've done really well in education, but have never done, actually personal trained. And you need to be in the role you're in. Absolutely. So
I still PT'd up until about 4 years ago. And unfortunately, too much expectation of being away from home in London. And when I get back, the last thing my wife and kids want to do is let me go and do PT. But I was PTing right up till about 4 years ago, which I absolutely love. And I'm still mates with loads of my clients now,
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. Yeah, it becomes that, doesn't it? It's not just a PT client. Yeah, the relationship, the rapport you build. I still do a bit of personal training now, mainly because of the people that I'm PTing, I enjoy being around. And that's what it is. So the PT at Fitness First and how it works, we touched on it a little bit there, but about the self-employed model and stuff. So what are the options to be a PT at Fitness First, and what does it mean to be a Fitness First PT?
Yeah, so the thing, what it means, I suppose, to be a PT in Fitness First is that I guess you're not on your own. Fitness First is very much from a membership-based, community-led. Still even over all these years and how big we got, you still get the feel when you go into a Fitness First that there is a real community. We've never been the sort of brand that wants to make anything robotic and script stuff. We like personality. We like having some fun. We don't like it being too straight-laced. We like having a bit of competition, all that sort of stuff. So it's just a really nice environment to be in from a member, but also from a staff member as well. And the reason I say staff member rather than PT is that just we treat everyone the same, whether you're a self-employed PT, whether you're a hybrid PT, or whether you're an employee. All the KPIs and all that sort of stuff, it's the same sort of stuff that we want people working on. It's all about member interaction, member engagement. And if members are engaged and they're visiting our facility more, we do better, the PT does better. So we all work from the same sort of remit, I suppose. When we're talking about sort of different models, I've tried to keep it as well-rounded as I can, so that a PT coming into the business would have as many options as available as possible, I suppose. So we still do, and it's the most utilized system, is the full rent system. So you join Fitness First, you get a certain period of time rent free while you're building your business up, and then basically you just pay us a weekly rent. And that changes from some sites that are out of London, the fee will be less, right up into the higher tiered clubs where the rent would actually be more, obviously, because the membership's more and the client's more affluent in the area, etc.
Yeah,
so we still have sort of 2/3 of our PTs use that system, and we'll support them with leads coming through the business from our onboarding, and we still support them in terms of education as well. But not all PTs want to go straight into that, because obviously a PT rent in London, it's still a lot of money, and I'm never going to get away from that fact. You've still got to be able to deliver quite a lot of PT to pay those rents. So some people would prefer a more hybrid system where it's almost like an easier lead in. So we offer a hybrid system as well. So you do a month where we'll pay wages, and you wouldn't pay any rent, so you still get the opportunity to build some clients. And then from month 2, we'll carry on paying you for another 6 months, but you'll also pay us a little bit of rent as well to do those PT outside of those hours. Now those 10 hours are really dedicated to making sure that you build your business outside those 10 hours. So we have the other third of the business that use that hybrid model. There are a couple of other models in between that. So our fitness managers, they're allowed to PT outside of their hours, and anybody that is on an employed role of over 20 hours per week can opt in to PT as well. So that could be any role within the business. That might be you're a sales manager, you're doing over 20 hours, you can actually PT outside your hours. Same with a fitness instructor, or anyone within the business.
Okay, cool. So, like you say, different opportunities and different options there. Do you find that people, if they're just starting out, might start with the hybrid and then transition into the self-employed full rent? Is that how it's sort of moved into?
Yeah, that's how we've done it. And we used to have that the hybrid system was unlimited, but we'd prefer to push people through that system to get more people in that have got that period of time to build their business. And then it's a difficult one, to be fair, because you've got that. If you had an unlimited safety net forever, some people get to a level and they never want to push on that bit further. Whereas, if I went to 100% of my PTs and did an interview and found out who were the happiest, it would be the full rent PTs, because they've got full autonomy on their diary. They've got no commitments to Fitness First. Yes, we still drive your leads, but effectively, as long as you're in your uniform and adhering to be a generally nice person, you're going to carry on and do whatever you want. So we're trying to filter people through to the full rent a little bit quicker now, whereas it used to be unlimited. It's now 6 months in that period. But that ultimately is a good thing, I think, because an unlimited 2 years of being in that in-between zone isn't good for PTs, because you sort of start sitting on your laurels a little bit. Whereas we've got 6 months to really drive people through. I'm working on at the moment a 6-month plan of investment into that PT to make sure at the end of 6 months they've got all the skills they can to go and be the most flourishing PT that they can be on their terms.
No, I agree with you so much in terms of what you're saying there. I've got people in mind in different companies that I've worked with where they just get stuck in their ways. It's like, well, I'm happy here. I get paid for 24 hours. Then I do 10, 15 PT sessions a week where I get a percentage of that money. And like you say, you get comfortable.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But I totally agree with what you said there. They're also the same ones that are going to moan quite quickly about I'm not getting paid enough, this and then. Well, you could.
Yeah, of course you can.
Have this route, but you're deciding not to. And there is an element of safety net. I think that's probably the right way of saying it. And
And I suppose I say then that there is a 6 months cap there, but if there's a genuine reason why that person does need a little bit longer, that'll just come to me to be authorized anyway. So I'll just have a quick chat with the fitness manager and they'll be like, Tim, this person, they're on board, great PT, up to a certain amount of clients, they've struggled with this, that, or the other, or they haven't, or they've just realized that they need to put a little bit more effort in this bit, or they've just really made a bit of a difference on their conversion now and they're doing better. Tim, they need an extra 3 months, they need an extra 4 months. As long as they've got the business case for that, I'm absolutely fine with it going on a little bit longer. I just didn't want it to be something that we went out to market with to say, you can do this for the next 3 years, because we just wanted to get people through to ultimately what they wanted to do originally. Because I would imagine that when someone went out and thought they were going to be a PT, they didn't think, I've got to stand on reception potentially for 3 hours, greeting people to come in. Now, we know that that's a fantastic way for lead generation. There's loads of opportunity there. But that ultimately, that's not what they want to be doing. Some people, in those 10 hours, I might be requesting that they teach classes. For some people, that might be great. And again, great lead generation opportunity. Some people, I don't want to do that sort of thing. So it just gets them through to where they want to be a little bit better.
Yeah, no, I agree. So when you said about where people want to be and stuff, it leads me on to my next question, really, and it's, we talk about what success is as a PT. Everyone will have their own versions of what success is. So, but from your point of view and from Fitness First point of view as well, a little bit, what would you class as a successful PT, or what traits would they ultimately have, do you think, to become a success?
Obviously, everybody needs the education, the anatomy and physiology, the biomechanics, and all that sort of stuff. But I would still genuinely say that the most successful PTs are those ones with the better interpersonal skills, the ones that can build relationships, make things fun, make things engaging. So yeah, that's my resounding answer on that one. I see so many qualified people come through that I'd be scared to go head to head on them on a CV. But I know that the ones that do better are the ones that can just have a conversation and build relationships.
I'm 100% with you. I mean, with me and the PT that I did, I would do on average 45 to 55 PT sessions a week. Not because I've got my level 2, level 3. I'll go out and do extra, not necessarily even full qualifications, but I'd go out and learn about things based on the client that's in front of me. You'd go out and do extra learning to help them, but maybe not an additional strength and conditioning or anything like that. But there'll be a few people who've got X, Y, and Z qualifications, but have got no clients because that first interaction, or just going up speaking to people, or not being afraid to hear no. Because you're going to hear no when you talk to people about PT, as long as that doesn't affect you and you can move on, and then you will build that business. I agree that is what will create then is a successful business in terms of the numbers you want, which ultimately, hopefully, then one that comes up a lot, and I think does help with success, is retention. If you can retain that clients, you're not constantly having to chase for new people. And that comes with having good interpersonal skills, like you say. If you can do those things, you're going to be all right, aren't you? You're going to be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And people talk about good experiences that are going to have with more people. And I'm sure through your course, I know through your course that we talk about referrals and that sort of thing. But if you've got a client that's really happy with the service that you're delivering, they're having fun, they're having great experiences, they're more likely to refer friends or talk to people about the experiences that they're having. And they are so much better leads in terms of new clients than going to a gym floor and effectively cold calling round people on bits of kit that might not necessarily want to talk to you.
Yeah, word of mouth is the cheapest and most effective way to get new clients, isn't it? Really, you give someone a really good service, they're going to tell everyone about it. But got one guy in mind to train him, then I trained his wife, now I train 3 sets of their friends. So that works out potentially maybe 12 sessions a week from giving one person a really good service. Has expanded to that. Whereas if I gave them a crap service, we haven't got anyone else. So no, I agree. It makes a big difference.
And then in terms of what the actual PTs offer that do best right now, I mean, back when I was PTing, when I was building my business, I suppose it was more just about those personal skills and experience again, but who was getting the best results with physical results, I guess. But the ones that are doing best now are doing a more holistic approach to everything. And if I look in the mirror and look at what I was delivering 20 years ago, I don't think I'd last 2 minutes. This is now, just because I never used to tap into as much as I would now the nutrition side, the mental side, even going down now into things like sleep management and even wealth management, and there's loads of things that you can do that help with the lifestyle of that individual. That's so much more outside of what happens in that club, and those that are giving the best services are looking at a whole holistic approach.
Yeah, you develop the PTs develop so much more now from just having a personal trainer into this is a coach who's going to help you in so many different other aspects of your life, and that's where the results are going to ultimately come anyway. If you you're only with them for an hour, maybe a couple of hours, 3 hours at a max a week for most people. I think on average still people are having 1 session per week when you take into consideration illness, holidays, etc. So you're only seeing them for 52 hours across the year. it's the other 23 hours a day. If you can help them with that, that's going to help them so much more. So I agree with you there massively. So going back to sort of fitness first and stuff with regards to when someone is looking to sign up with Fitness First, or they're now a PT with you, you said about the education there, but what is the onboarding process like when you become a Fitness First PT? How does that look?
Onboarding for a PT would look like going into a day where we'll talk you through, centrally going through a day where we'll talk you through all the help that fitness managers are going to give you over the next X period of time, whether that or not that be that you be hybrid PT or a full rent PT. We'll obviously get all your uniform and stuff ordered, and we'll go through a day of business practices that you might not necessarily have had through your course. Now, your course, obviously, I know is very comprehensive, but we have PTs come in from all sorts of courses, and some may not have done anything in terms of lead generation, may not have done anything in terms of price presentation, overcoming objections, referrals, all that sort of stuff. So we will recap that at that point as well. But then the biggest thing that's happened just recently that's actually in process at the moment is making sure that we give you the best opportunity to convert clients that come in through Fitness First. And we believe that that's through the onboarding of the member. So obviously they're joining us for a reason. We know that because we capture it at point of sale, and it's the best way that we can then hand that over to a PT with the most amount of information that they can gather about the needs and requirements of that individual, of how they can convert them to PT. So I'm currently working with a few brands on building the best possible journey for the PT to convert. So it's a bit of a balancing act for me, because I want to give the member the best optimal service within the first 90 days of their membership to make sure that there's as much usage within that period, because all the research says that within that first 3 months, they're more likely to build that habit and achieve their goal if those first 3 months are really effective. So that's the first 3 months that I want the PT being able to extract as much information as possible to convert that client. So there's an onboarding journey for the member, and then there's an onboarding journey for the PT to understand about how they can convert that member during that period as well. So I've currently got, I think it's 4 different bioelectrical impedance analysis devices that I'm trialing at the moment. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's not just the information that's spitting out for the member, it's the information that it's spitting out that can give the PT information that I'm more interested about. Is it spitting out stuff that they can use to do with nutrition? Is it spitting out stuff that they can do to do with injury prevention because of increased water? All that sort of stuff. So it's a really interesting period of time. And then you can use, if you're a hybrid PT, you'll be using those hours to deliver these onboarding sessions to convert to clients. But within those 10 hours as well, you'd have time with your fitness manager to go through your performance on the onboarding. So if you're struggling to convert clients, we can really drill down on some ratios and help you with where you seem to be struggling, because there's going to be certain points that we'll realize that will be evident that, oh, they're not converting from this point, we need to do that. Or they're not converting from that point, we need to do something different with the PT to make sure that they've got the skill set to convert to a full paying client.
Cool. So they get, like you say, it looks as if the process is changing, which is awesome, to help the PTs as much as possible create a sustainable business, which is fantastic. And makes it easier for you guys. If they're creating that sustainable business, it helps with your member retention, but helps with your PT retention. So then you haven't got to keep going out and finding new PTs, or you can, but because the other guys' businesses are flourishing, so you want more of them. So that's great. And like the bioelectrical impedance stuff, like the first thing I bought when I went self-employed was a body stat machine I could use as a scanner, because it helped, like you say, people in terms of probably 85-90% of the members generally who you get who potentially want PT are the fundamental thing they'll say is they want to lose weight and tone up. That's going to be different for every person, but you want to be able to give that client the information saying that actually weight on the scales isn't the whole picture. Having this to show them, okay, this is our body fat mass, our muscle mass. These are the things that we want to see go up and go down. You'll see the differences in clothes, how you feel, you say, water retention. It gives you an opportunity to educate your client even more, which also shows them how much knowledge you have without having to really sell it. It's like, this is what we're looking at, this is going to help you, which ultimately hopefully then makes an easier sale, because the PT client or potential PT client will go, oh wow, this person actually knows their stuff and they can really help me, rather than let's step on the scales, oh, you're 95 kilos, your height is this, your BMI says you're obese.
Yeah.
That's not a nice conversation to have straight out the bat, and it doesn't tell you anything really.
My results weren't great, to be fair, when I've been doing some of these trials. I needed some soft skills after my results of the last one.
But no, I think having things like that, it just helps. It really does help, and any opportunity to give the PT more education on using those skills and understanding those bits of information to pass it on, even if that person doesn't necessarily buy PT with you there, you've educated them on something which they'll go off and maybe they might even speak to someone else and go, have you had your body stats done? No. Then they might even create a little bit of word of mouth just for that. We'll go and see this person who does it. They told me a lot of info. But even that helps. It makes a big difference.
And one of the really beneficial parts of my role, being diverse, being head of PT and head of equipment, is that when I'm having these sorts of conversations, I can make sure that the training element is absolutely there. Maybe if I was just head of equipment, I might just ultimately be thinking about the price of the kit, the functions of the kit. But fortunately, because I'm in this position, I'm using a bit of a negotiation tactic to make sure that the ongoing training for the PTs is really beneficial on each of these units, and that'll be a persuading factor in which one I decide to go on, because the information is only as good as how a PT can give it to the member. If I decide on the eVault 360, which is one of them that's in the mix, and it displays its results in a slightly different way, and I haven't been through that as part of my level 3 course, what am I going to be able to deliver to the member? Probably not a lot, and not in the way that I want them to be able to deliver it so that they can convert well. But I'll make sure that as part of their onboarding, that they'll have a whole day with eVault to go through all their master training program. And if you go online right now and have a look at how much that costs, I think it's like $200, I think that is, but I'll get that for free for them. So that happens in all walks of the equipment life. We might have a new Technogym skill run that's got tons of features on now. How do I know that your course has been through that? Well, I don't, but I'll make sure that Technogym do a day with our PTs to make sure they understand how to utilize all the products and services on that treadmill to the best of the ability, so that they understand it and so that they have the opportunity to convert from it.
No, fantastic. Makes total sense, man. That's awesome. So, I mean, the onboarding process sounds great in terms of the picking up clients and stuff. So the lead generation, the PTs themselves have got to help with lead generation and go out and floor walk and stuff. And you said about it earlier that you pass leads on. How does that look? How do you help to move the leads over to the PTs?
Yeah, so the honest answer is it's up to the fitness manager at club, and I obviously have a reporting line on that as well, and I have a lot of clarity on where they go. But ultimately, it'll be a meeting. I'm very adamant that the fitness managers will have meetings with the PTs as much as they want. So if they want a meeting every day, they can have a meeting every day. If they want to be left alone, they can have a meeting every 6 months. My preference would be at least monthly anyway, though, so we can just check in and make sure that everything's online. But ultimately, at those meetings, we'll see what level of support each person needs, so that we can then dedicate a percentage of those new leads to that PT. Usually, and not in all cases, to be fair. So in some cases where we've not got enough leads, the fitness manager has to go out and they have to create additional leads on top of their role. That's an expectation, but normally we have enough new sales coming through. Particularly, I'm hoping with this new system that we've got coming on board, that we'll sell a higher percentage of the onboarding product with the new sales that come on board. So yeah, to your question, it'll be a meeting with that person weekly if they're new, potentially even daily, and assess their requirements, and then they'll just be distributed out depending on how those meetings go.
Awesome, man. That's cool. With regards to, obviously, you've got 20 plus years experience, and you've seen PTs do really well. You've also seen PTs that have fallen out of the industry. Sadly, that happens a lot.
Yeah.
What characteristics do you see in this? You've sort of already touched on it, but what characteristics do you see in the successful PTs in order for them to stay in the industry? And what do you think? Yeah, what do you think the people who are falling away out of the industry? What do you think they are potentially lacking as to why they haven't quite made it? What do you think?
I'd say the biggest one. I do see this not just on what I see from day to day, but I see it in data as well, is when they tend to drop off. And when they tend to drop off is when they have to start paying rent. So the full rent PTs, they get 2 months rent free, and then they'll have to start paying rent. And I start seeing drop off a few, week 9, week 10, week 11. And ultimately that's just because they haven't done the business planning required to make sure that they've got the business they need by that period of time. And it's a little bit, it beggars belief sometimes that, someone hasn't done the business planning to do that, but it's all about organization and making sure that you've got the required amount of leads and that you've done the balance sheets to make sure that, you've got the revenue in place to make this work. Because those that haven't done that amount of planning almost get surprised that they're not where they want to be, and then they panic and they're out of there. But you have got to understand, and you've got to have a realization that, you're not going to have 40 clients paying 60 quid every single week after 2 months. And some people think that's the case. It does take time to build up. So you have got to make sure that you're going to have to tighten your belt a little bit if you haven't got the revenue behind you for those first few months, because there is going to be a period where you're going to be building that business, and the revenue is not going to flow through quite as quick as some people imagine. The other one, I guess, that I see is that a lot of people think that they can come in, particularly in the hybrid model, because like I say, a lot of the newer people that come in try to take the hybrid model because it is that little bit more of a safety net. And we'll say 10 hours for us. We dictate what you do in those 10 hours, but ultimately a lot of it's going to be geared towards building your business for outside of those 10 hours. But what I see in a lot of cases is that these PTs come in for the 10 hours, finish their shift and go home.
Oh,
and I'm like,
it's such a, I mean, we have this on the course, and I've spoken about this so many times with people on the course as well at the very beginning. It's like, this is going to be your base. This is going to be where you're going to run your business. You should be there for as many hours as you possibly can from day one, because even if you're not necessarily talking to people, you might just be sitting having in the rest bit having a coffee, but people start to see your face, look up when someone enters the door, says morning. That made those soft skills, but that soft hello. So when you are then on the gym floor and you see them, you've already had that initial engagement and go, no, I've seen you come in 4 times this week. Like, how's everything going? It's an easier conversation to have than going up there cold, going, hi. It's those little things. I've said this before about quite a lot of PTs, even the ones who are in the industry now and then moan like I haven't picked up enough clients. Or I spoke to someone the other day and I was like, okay, in terms of hours that you do on the gym floor, I'm here quite a lot. Okay, where do you train? Well, I train down the road at another gym. Why? Why are you training at another club where that is the perfect opportunity when you're not in uniform anymore? You're training, you're in the same space that, say you enjoy your resistance stuff, you're in that space where someone else also enjoys it. There's a conversation, you catch eye, and then just take your headphones off, whatever you're doing, just have a quick conversation. They no longer feel like they're being sold to because you're in the same, but people don't. 100%. They go and train elsewhere. They're like, why? Do that when you're doing 40 sessions a week, when you're doing 40 clients a week and you want to have a little bit of time to yourself, then go off and do that. But when you're trying to build a business, don't be stupid. Be there.
Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, I've got an example of, I don't PT anymore, like I mentioned earlier, but I train at the club where we've got our head office. I train pretty regularly on the morning, and obviously you get to know a lot of members that you just say all right to the first time. The second time it might be just a bit of a conversation about chest today or legs today or whatever it might be. Next time it's more. I've got so much information on those people now that I could use if I PT'd that I know that guy does this split routine. I know this guy likes to do that. I know he struggles on this. It's
Exactly.
so easy to layer conversations if you're not in that uniform as well.
100%. I mean, let's say I still do some PT now, and there'll be some. I generally PT a lot in the mornings. I prefer the mornings, and they're the clients that I have generally. But you then create a community. So you'll speak to. I've got a PT client, but there's 2 other people who are in at the same time every single day. They all now know each other. So you end up talking amongst you while one of them's having a session with you guys. We talk about the football at the weekend.
Yeah.
He's a Chelsea fan, he's an Arsenal fan, I'm a Liverpool fan, and you end up chatting about that. But that's better for the club as well, because you've now got a community of people who, I mean, they enjoy that morning rapport. It helps everyone. And I know so much about these 2 people who, again, helps with member retention. But if they ever want to have PT in the future, I haven't tried to sell them. They're only ever going to go with me because they only ever have that communication with me. Cool. So you're stupid not to do that, in my view.
Yeah. I'm with you, but there's a lot of people that don't
think about it. Yeah. And that's with the courses and stuff that we try and put that into, especially when they get to the business plan tasks and stuff and discussing marketing strategy, how you're going to pick people up. One of the things that we get quite a lot in the business plan in terms of marketing strategy, how you're going to market your business, they go, right, I'm going to do social media posts, talk online, like, right, okay, but you've just said you want a gym floor business. Why are you worrying about putting all of your marketing online on your social media when you're in club? Come and just actually market within club. And that could be putting on a workshop, doing some sort of delivery in that sense in club. Only 5% of your audience is going to see your social media post. And you're also hoping that 5% go to the gym that you work at. It's not going to happen. Yeah. Don't worry about that. And we talk them through that in the business plan, because that's by all means put social media up if that's what you like to do. But if you're saying you want to be a gym floor PT delivering 25, 30 sessions a week, you putting a post up about your bench press isn't going to get you a client. Don't worry about that. So yeah, we try and help with that aspect.
Yeah, and we're doing the same too now with making sure that PTs understand that they need to be in that club and around that club more often. And when a PT leaves now, that there's a bit of repercussion for the fitness manager. I mean, I can't sit here and say that we've been at full capacity for the last 4 or 5 years, because obviously we've been through this whole topsy-turvy world of COVID, but we're out the back of that now, and we got rid of those clubs, and we're in all clubs profitable now, and the teams now are getting more stabilized again, where they've been a bit shaky the last sort of few years. But now that we've got no excuses, now we're back to running exactly how we should be. If a PT leaves now, that's not just the fault of the PT. The fitness manager is now accountable, because I've now got to go through with that fitness manager. What didn't you do to support that person to make sure that they've got a flourishing business? So there's a lot more expectation now that if the fitness manager hasn't done what they need to do, that they need to be accountable for it. So we'll get better in helping the PTs and managing the PTs. And not all PTs want management, but they kind of should, because not in all self-employed businesses would you have somebody driving your business. But if your business does well, my business does well. So I'm going to make sure that my fitness managers are driving you. Now, if you want to push them back and say, listen, I don't want any help whatsoever, okay, I've got at the end of the day, you're self-employed, so that's up to you. But I would rather push that we will be driving and supporting these PTs that need that help. And then once they're fully fledged and they don't need any more clients, cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I think having as much support and as much guidance as possible at the beginning, everyone needs. And if they feel that they don't, then ultimately they've been a fool. Take the information, take what people are offering you, and build upon it. But as you say, once they've reached that capacity, then it's almost your obligation as a PT to then be a potential mentor for others and help the fitness manager in that space. And again, it just creates a better community within the club. Yeah. Really.
There's still stuff that they can do when they get to that point. How do you then, okay, so you're full now, 40 spots a week. How do we take you to the next level? How do we add additional services? How do we look at making you more profitable? We can always still help on stuff like that, but My problem at the moment, I suppose, is making sure that I've got enough of those. I want that problem.
Yeah.
And hopefully a year down the line, I will be able to put some more resource into that, rather than making sure that I'm putting as much resource into just making sure people are getting to that full rent position.
Yeah, no, I get that. Cool. Brilliant stuff, mate. So with regards to the PTs that are staying in the industry, PTs that aren't staying in the industry, from an education provider like what we are, and for the companies yourselves, what do you think should be potentially added in that would help them succeed? Is there anything that you think, I wish I knew that an education provider offered this, and this before they even come to us? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean, and I think you've covered a lot of those, because I know your course not really well. I know a lot of your course, and I know you do a lot on the sales side of it, and I suppose that's the bit that I think is missing from a lot of other courses that you guys do quite well. A lot of work on the lead generation, a lot of work on making sure that they're presenting their services correctly, and their products affordably as well, making sure that they understand how to overcome the objections of money, of time, of family, whatever it might be, overcoming any objections, and then making sure that they showcase their skills really well on a gym floor to be able to get referrals. So that whole sales process is the biggest thing, along with what we've mentioned about just understanding the expectation of what it takes at the start. A lot of providers do sell a dream that isn't necessarily the truth. And listen, that's not to say that can't be done, because a lot of people do that.
Not in the first 3 months.
Yeah, but a lot don't. I mean, I have seen people come in 3 months. They've got a great client base, but that doesn't happen for everybody.
No.
So making sure that they do understand the expectation required, and the hours required, because not a lot of people want to train in work time. So that means that you've got to work before work and after work, before 9 and after 5, potentially in some respects. And that's a big undertaking, so you've got to be organized with your time. And one day it might be you do more early clients, one day it might be late clients. We're not in the industry that's particularly social in terms of hours, but that's the industry we're in, so making sure that we understand that is important.
I agree. I think that's an awesome way of answering that question, mate, because everything's absolutely right. We need to manage people's expectations when they're on the course, in terms of, and we do, again, we try and do that really well with they have to create a gross and net profits. They have to talk about, okay, the amount of one-to-one PT sessions I'm going to, depending on where they live, but demographic, I'm looking at charging X amount per session. This is how much I expect to do in quarter 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, well, if that says quarter 1, 15 sessions a week for 12 weeks, we, as a provider and as a tutor and assessing team, we have to manage that expectation and go, I would love that for you, but you are not going to be doing 15 sessions a week from week 1. We need to transition that through. So we make them understand that, make them actually, let's redo it. Let's talk about, okay, what is realistic for you? And we can manage expectations for them there. And that's probably and we do that now, and that's probably something we could improve on even more, so to help them understand those side of things. But I agree with you as well, like that you're working in other people's leisure time at the end of the day. It's very rare that they're going to take their lunch hour to come and do a session, unless they are really close to the gym itself. But they're also the ones that are probably going to cancel quite a lot, because if it is during their work time, really sorry, can't make it, like a meeting's come up or I'm overrunning. So you can't rely on those ones. You've got to think about the mornings and evenings really to make this a successful career, being on a gym floor. So no, I totally agree with what you're saying there, bud. Tim, I've really enjoyed getting to know a bit more about how it works as Fitness First, how you guys operate, and also the things that you've got in the pipeline as well to make it even better for the PTs.